All right, so let's talk about animation. I'm going to start out with just doing a very simple snow scene. So I'm just dragging and dropping the color of my background here, adding a new layer, and then I'm going to make kind of a hill where our snow can have a nice background to fall on. Drag and drop to fill that color. Do is go into Animation Assist, and you can find this by going up to the very top left, right by Gallery, there's a wrench, and you'll see under, this is the Actions tab, under Canvas, you have Animation Assist. I'm just gonna check that. And you can see that it turned a little bit pink. That has to do with onion skin technology. So I'm just gonna merge these two layers together so that they're one layer, and each layer counts as a frame in your animation. So these are all one layer, and I want this to continue throughout my animation, the background. So I'm just gonna go down here, I'm just gonna tap on the frame, and I'm gonna select background, and that'll keep that background for the entire animation. Further into this, I wanna show you the options that you have in animation for Procreate, and you're going to find them down on the bottom. So you'll have your play button here, and that's going to play your entire animation. Settings, if you tap that, you have a bunch of different options. So you have loop, and this is all playback. These are playback options. So loop will play it again and again, back to back. Ping pong will play the slides as if they're ping-ponging back and forth, and one shot just plays it once and then ends. Frames per second, that's easier for me to show you once I've done the animation, but that's basically how fast your animation plays. Onion skin frames is how many layers you see under your current layer, and that's also easier for me to show you later on. Onion skin opacity is how transparent those layers are. And you can blend the primary frame. I usually don't worry about this. And you can change the onion skin color to any color that you'd like. So I'm just gonna change it to this red. And then I'm gonna click back on here. To add a frame, you can either tap this, which is add a frame down here, or you can go to your layers tab and add a layer here, and that will add a frame down below. So every layer counts as a frame in the animation. So let's get to our falling snow. So I'm just going to delete this layer here, and the best way that falling snow would look realistic is not to duplicate the previous layer and just move it down a little bit, but you want to have sort of a falling trajectory. So to give you some guidelines for that, I would just draw, and actually let me switch the color here. I'll switch it to a black or a dark brown. So you can just draw these lines, and this is going to mimic how snow would actually fall as opposed to just duplicating that layer and having snow fall that way. And I'm going to show you what we're doing with these lines as soon as I get into drawing the actual snow. So when I want to draw the actual snow, I'm going to create another layer on top of this, and you can see the onion skin working right now since it's showing me the previous layer. So I want to group these two layers together, and that counts as one frame as well. So you can have a whole bunch of layers in a group and it'll count as one frame. So now that I have my kind of squiggles mimicking the falling snow and I have a layer on top of this, now I can start drawing the actual snow dots. So I'm just going to do one layer for you really quickly, and I'm going to choose this white color since it's snow, And let's start drawing some dots of snow. All right, so now that you have your first snow falling layer, we're gonna go back in our layers tab and we're just gonna duplicate this group. So we're gonna drag from the right to the left and hit duplicate. That'll duplicate the group for us, and you can see down here, it added another frame. So this is another frame of the animation. And what I'm gonna do here is just delete this snow layer, but we can still see with the red outline the snow on the previous layer, so we can work from there. So I'm just going to add another layer on top of where it says frame 1, and frame 1 is our squiggly lines. So I added another layer on top of that, and now what I'm going to do is just draw a little bit below the previous dots that I drew, or snowflakes in this case. And I'm going to do that for all of the dots in this layer. And I'm also doing it at varying sizes because that's kind of how snowflakes are. They vary in size. So this might take a while, depending on how kind of realistic you want your snow scene to be, or if you want it to ping pong or loop, you're gonna draw more dots. Now you're gonna keep doing the same thing for as many layers as you want. It really depends on, so you're gonna duplicate the group, and I'm just gonna close these down. And if the onion skin gets too messy, so first I'm gonna delete this layer. So you can see that now I have a whole bunch of dots, but I really only wanna see the previous frame. So I can go to settings, and I can turn my onion skin frames to 1, which means that I'm only seeing the previous layer. I'm not seeing this first group, I'm only seeing this group. So if I go up here, I'm gonna add a new layer, and then I can paint snow again based on the previous frame of where the snow was falling. And I'm gonna keep doing this, and depending on how long you want your animation to be, you can make it very long if you'd like. But I'm gonna keep it pretty short, so I'll probably do about 7 frames, and let's fast forward to show you that. All right, so I'm just gonna stick with 5 frames for now. You'll be able to see what I mean by the falling snow with 5 frames. So once I'm done and I'm happy with how much snow I have, I'm going to go back over to my layers tab, and I'm just gonna delete all of these squiggly lines because I don't want those to show up in my animation. So I'm just gonna delete all of those. And now I just have my falling snow, and you can see it doesn't really look like much right now, but when we play it back, it's going to show us how it's falling. So when I play it back, first I'm gonna go over to my layers tab and just look at all my layers. I like to just check my layers constantly. And you can see that because we set this blue hill as a background, it's gonna keep throughout the entire animation. So if we play it now, we can see that it's moving really, really quickly. So we're gonna go to settings, and we're gonna change the frames per second to maybe about 3. And we're also gonna change it to loop, which is just gonna play it over and over again. So if I play it now, you can see that it's falling much slower, and it looks more realistic to how a snow scene would look. And you can keep adding snow. You can also duplicate layers. The other thing that I want to show you is called hold duration. So if I just tap on a frame, I can either duplicate or delete it from the animation panel down here, or I can choose hold duration. And what this does is kind of holds the frame for a few more frames. So it's similar to duplicating it. So if I play it from here, you can see that it held that one frame for 5 more frames because I had the hold duration at 5. Now if I tap this again and I move the hold duration to none, it's just going to play it in a loop because I have the loop setting on. You can also tap on your settings while you're playing it back and change the way that it's playing. So I can have it on ping pong, I can have it on loop, or one shot is just playing it once. I usually like to have it on loop or ping pong. So let's just play that again. And you can also change the frames per second while you're playing it back to see what it looks like. So if we increase that a lot, you can see it gets to be kind of like a blizzard type effect with this snow. But we're gonna reduce it down to maybe 2 or 3. That's kind of where I like my, my animations to be at. And then we're just gonna tap here. If you want to save this animation, you're gonna go up to your wrench and you're gonna go to share in your actions tab, and you have all these options down here. I usually like to choose animated GIF, so if I just tap that, it's gonna show you a preview of what your GIF is gonna look like. It's also gonna give you the size. So this is, I think, 8.4 megabytes, and you can either have max resolution or web ready. So you can choose either one of those and just hit export when you're done. And that, my friends, is how you make snow falling on a hill. It's a very simple animation. It kind of gives you the basics of how animation works and onion skin technology. But I just wanted to show you this really quickly. It also looks more realistic because the size of the snowflakes are changing a little bit. And with this kind of curve, like downfall effect, you're not just duplicating each layer and moving it a little bit farther down. So if you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel if you'd like. I offer a lot of Procreate tutorials, beginner-friendly tutorials on everything Procreate related. So hit the like button if you'd like to see more of this, and I will see you soon.